What's up, everyone? It's the Benchwarmers, and today we're going to be reacting to the 49ers loss to the Rams in the NFC Championship game. This is an incredible season, and we're going to give you some details from our reactions as two 49ers fans and a Giants fan to the game.
Yeah, so as a 49ers fan, I think one glaringly obvious take that I have is on Jimmy G. He actually had a decent game today. He was 16 for 30, 232 yards, two touchdowns, and one interception. So on paper, it actually seems like a decent game. He didn't particularly impress anyone, but he also wasn't a huge disappointment either. And that one interception was at the very end of the game. So I guess it doesn't count for as much as it would have been if it was earlier, but I feel like he gets too much hate. Cause I understand the criticism and he's people saying that, oh, he's that person that gets an A on the group project even though he didn't do anything. But I still feel like he's overhated. He's a system quarterback and he's not supposed to be a superstar. He's supposed to let other people be superstars. And my take on the situation is that he's a pretty solid quarterback as he's going to win games. And he won't make the 49ers go 4-13 or something like that. But I still feel like he's holding the Niners offense back from their full potential. And I think we saw that in this game. He was able to just throw these ins and posts to the middle of the field. But other than those 10, 15-yard throws and those short throws to Eli Mitchell, I think he didn't really do much in terms of the passing attack. And the 49ers really had to rely on the run game. But when the run game was slow today, I think the passing game wasn't able to hold up to the level that it should have been. So I think he's not the long-term solution. He's a solid quarterback, and I understand why they kept him in for these playoff games because he's definitely better than Trey Lance currently at winning games. But I'm glad that they drafted Trey Lance because I feel like he's going to be the future quarterback for the 49ers. So while this is probably Jimmy Garoppolo's last season, I definitely wish him the best since he's the one that brought the 49ers out of the slumps a few years ago, and he's still a solid quarterback. So I hope that other Niners fans can also agree, and that the rest of the league doesn't hate on him as much as they should, since he's still a solid quarterback. But unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be suiting up in red and gold next season.
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of things Rohan said, and I'd like to talk about some of the other players on the team. I truly feel like this team has it had a lot of grit, it had a lot of power, which it could have unleashed, and it didn't. This is a team which knew that they can beat the Rams. At times, they were beating the Rams. They had a 10-point lead going to the fourth quarter, but they weren't able to capitalize in key moments. Jimmy obviously missed some throws and had that late interception, but that was on a 3rd and 15. But also, I think there was other portions of the offense which we would normally expect great things from, which didn't have it that much today. Debo was his normal self. But even then, he was a little bit squashed from normal. His run game was admittedly a little bit weak. I think he averaged under 4 yards per carry. And considering that this is a guy who averaged roughly 6 yards per carry on different stretches, and because of his general ability to move around in the field very fast and get away from defenders, he was the focal points of the 49ers rushing offense at times when Eli Mitchell was anemic in the playoffs. And again, he was also not that great today, Eli Mitchell himself. And I guess that sort of run game which defined the 49ers in the 2019 season just didn't show up in the playoffs this year. Eli Mitchell is he is fine, I guess. He doesn't fumble the ball that much, which is good considering the running backs do fumble a lot. And he was a 6th-round pick. But I think that we are really going to be excited when Raheem Mostert comes back next year because of his speed, because of his sheer ability to make the big play on the run. So that's in terms of the offense. Again, I think George Kittle also had a little bit of an underwhelming game. Yes, Jimmy G missed him on a couple of throws, but that touchdown was also good. But I think George Kittle should be involved in the offense a lot more because we know that he can be. Then if you look at the O-line, they had an okay game. Towards the end, they let up a couple of QB pressures that cost us, but I think otherwise allowing 0 sacks on Jimmy G was definitely a good thing against this Rams defense. Now looking at the defensive side of the ball, this was very disappointing showing from the 49ers, especially. We knew that the cornerbacks were an issue, the secondary was an issue, but it was really, really bad today, allowing over 115 yards to both Odell and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, I guess, was sort of expected, but Odell, we had held him to around in the teens or 20s of yards before, but he just had an amazing day, a field day. It was catching like 13-yard, 15-yard, 20-yard passes, and a lot of these plays came on third down, just breakdowns in the defense, missed interception by Jaquaski Tart, just inability to perform from players like Ambry Thomas, and it just wasn't a good look for that secondary unit. The linebackers, I mean, they're obviously very smart players, especially with led by Fred Warner, and the D line. Nick Bosa had a sack. Arik Armstead is still a very good player, and I think that the front seven can definitely move forward as to be one of the best units in the league moving forward. But I think that otherwise it was a disappointing day for the defense.
Yeah, so pretty disappointing, but bittersweet end to a very solid 49ers season. A lot of people didn't expect them to even make the playoffs, so to make it this far was very impressive. But now I'm going to talk about the Rams, who are going to be moving on to the Super Bowl. So overall today, it was a pretty impressive performance. When you look at the passing offense specifically, it was strong. As Aki previously mentioned, Cooper Kupp and OBJ had great games. And even Kendall Blanton, the third string tight end for the Rams, who had to play because Higbee got injured early on. He had a huge game. He had, even though it doesn't really reflect it in the stats, he had a lot of third down conversions and just clutch plays overall that helped the Rams win this game. So it's good to see that the Rams were able to incorporate many different players into the passing attack, and I think that's what they need to do, continue to do going forward, rather than solely relying on Cooper Kupp, even though he is their best receiver. However, one thing that did concern me about their passing offense was Matthew Stafford's decision making, especially when they were losing. So obviously he threw a pick during this game, and then also he had that play that was almost a pick where he just launched it 50 yards downfield, and it almost got picked off by Jaquaski Tart. I still have no idea why he attempted that throw. I mean, there's three defensive backs there, one, maybe two receivers are part of the play, but like, I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish there, especially I think it was first down. So it really just showed that he was kind of, I guess, kind of crumbling under the pressure a little bit in that situation. And then when you look at the passing offense, I think it was pretty good overall. They were averaging like 4.5 yards per carry for a lot of the game, even though but it kind of dipped at the end a bit because the 49ers rush defense just was very good. And I think considering that they were playing such a good run defense, this was a commendable effort from the rushing offense in general. So overall, I think their offense is looking pretty good going into the Super Bowl against the Bengals. The Bengals have a good defense, but I wouldn't say it's one of the scariest defenses in the league. They don't have an amazing pass rush or like amazing lockdown corners or anything. So the Rams should be able to put up a good performance there. But now looking at the defense in this game for the Rams, I found that the rushing defense was very, very impressive. I mean, they're going against the 49ers rushing offense that's super dynamic, so many different weapons that they can use, including Deebo Samuel, who is kind of a player that is not really a typical running back, but the Rams responded to his presence very well and managed to hold him to like 2.5 yards per carry or so. And then the passing defense was okay, but what I found slightly concerning was that the pass rush wasn't really as good as you expect it to be when you have Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd and Von Miller. They are known for struggling against the 49ers offensive line just because that O-line is so good. And when you look at their game coming up against the Bengals, who I think really their main weakness is that offensive line, the Rams will really have to get the pressure in on Joe Burrow, because otherwise, if you don't pressure Joe Burrow, he's just going to do whatever he wants. And that's what we kind of saw with the Bengals against the Chiefs, who don't have that strong of a defensive line. But I think with Aaron Donald and Von Miller, as I previously mentioned, the Rams have a really good chance of putting up a strong resistance on defense against the Bengals. So overall, going into the Super Bowl, I think when you look at most predictions, you're going to see that the Rams are favorites most of the time. Obviously, that pass rush is kind of one of the main factors, and just the fact that the Bengals are a little more inexperienced. But I think it's at this point, it's basically around 50-50 because both these teams are very solid. So overall, the Rams look very good, but I think just the one main concern about them is that they're not really a 60-minute football team. And what I mean by that is that they don't play super well the whole 60 minutes. That's what you saw against the Bucs last week. They played a very good first half and then played a terrible second half. And then this week they were losing most of the game and had to have clutch plays in the fourth quarter to win the game. So I think in order to win the Super Bowl, that's not going to slide. They have to perform well all 4 quarters. And it'll just be interesting to see whether they'll be able to do that. So that wraps it up for this video, reacting to the 49ers versus Rams conference championship. Unfortunately, it was a sad ending for us because, two of us are 49ers fans, but we're definitely still looking forward to what will be an amazing Super Bowl. So this is the Benchwarmers. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're signing out. See ya.